Hello, welcome to Cyber Mentoring Monday. See, we've got a few people in chat. Hello. Hope everyone's having a good Monday. Good start to the week. T-Monster, Hack the Box is acting up. Yeah, I did notice that. So, depending on if they can sort their issues out or not, we may have to change the stream a little bit. Phrasen Spirit, I think that's how you pronounce that. Are we able to purchase your courses from anywhere other than Udemy? Yes. So actually, let me just switch to my live screen a minute. If you go to my Twitter, which is twitter.com/0xtiberius, I actually have, like, just until I think today. Scroll down here. Yeah, here we go. Oh, that's the Udemy stuff. Sorry, hang on. Hackers Academy. So if you go to this tweet, I'll actually paste it in chat. If you go there, and you use the code Black Friday, you can get like 60% off. There's also a bundle, which I think this links to. Yes, this will take you to the bundle, which is cheaper than buying the courses separately. Ignore the price it says there. That's the regular price. If you just click enroll now with this coupon applied, or you can apply it at checkout, you get it for 16 bucks. So there you go. All right. All right, TryHackMe one. Am I still logged into TryHackMe? No. All right. I should probably solve that first. Stopping your instance right now. Sorry, having a bit of an outage. No problem, Ryan. I figured, yeah, since you guys are having issues, I'll just I won't do the Hackbox stream tonight. I don't want to like have to go like 10 minutes and then maybe it happens again because of a network issue or something. So we'll do the regular Hack the Box stream next week as well. So hopefully that will work. No worries though. Okay, let's go to learn. What am I doing? Practice? No, search. All right. We'll do some challenges. Difficulty easy. Hide completed. All right. Pickle Rick. I think we did Pickle Rick. I don't think Pickle Rick was rated easy. So for those who don't know, my Monday streams, which are currently like my only regular streams, unfortunately, are we do easy boxes because I'm assuming the viewer group is more on the sort of beginner side. So we try and do easy boxes and talk our way through it. Bounty Hack is a nice easy box. Okay. I mean, simple CTF looks like a simple CTF, so maybe. We won't do OSINT because that's obviously going to be OSINT. Agent Sudo. Lazy admin. Startup. Someone suggested startup. Okay. Views traditional vulnerabilities via untraditional means. Interesting. And Skynet. All right. I tell you what. We'll do a vote between these four. All right. Which room? Bounty Hunter, Simple CTF, Startup, and Skynet. Alright, there you go. We got 2 minutes. Depending on how long this takes, we might have time for another one. I know we're running about 30 minutes late because of some technical issues, but... I just realised I haven't got my my list of viewer rewards open. There we go. By the way, if anyone, like, I only have like really 3 or 4 viewer rewards. If anyone wants to suggest some, feel free. I kind of just fumble around with the streaming stuff. I think the ones I've got are pretty good. Solving a Rubik's Cube, requesting me to go get a cat, making me say something in a British accent, and forcing me to use Zap. Which we don't do on the easy streams, just because it becomes a complete nightmare. I really don't like Zap. And considering I don't use it, it's it would be a bit like forcing me to use Gentoo, for instance. And like, I've used Gentoo in the past. Alright, Bounty Hacker. Join the room. Alright, we'll start the machine. Oh jeez. Open VPN. Tiberius. Hopefully that works. To be fair, for Gentoo, I would, if you are interested in using Linux, like a lot, not if you're just getting into Linux, but if you know your way around Linux, okay, it's definitely worth playing around with Gentoo because you get a nice idea of how good package managers actually are. For those who don't know, Gentoo is pretty much, it has a package manager, but the package manager downloads the source code and then compiles everything. So you get some automation, but it's a lot of messing around and having errors and having to sort out the errors, etc. The advantage, you even compile the kernel from scratch. That's the first thing you do. The advantage to it, super fast, because it's like compiled directly for your hardware, so it's really, you know, super fast operating system. Just really annoying. Yeah. Deploy the machine. We've done that. All right, let's actually see if we can ping it. Oops. Why won't it let me paste? There we go. Okay, we can ping it. Good. Find open ports on the machine. What are we going to use to find open ports on the machine? Like having a super fast car but almost impossible to drive. Cool. Pretty much. It's like making a car. Which, my friend has one of these. He didn't actually build it from scratch, but these are kit cars. So you can order them pre-built, or you can order just a box of the parts and assemble it yourself. I've driven in it. It's hilarious. It is actually a two-seater. So we sped around the Welsh countryside in it. It was a lot of fun. Auto recon. We can use auto recon. Might be better just to use mmap, just for now. So we'll just do a regular mmap scan, and apparently my copy paste doesn't like it. So we'll do an mmap scan. We'll disable ping. We'll scan for versions. We'll scan with the script. We'll put a -v in there for verbosity. We'll only need to scan the top 1,000 ports. So we have 22, 80, and 21. 22 and 80 are pretty common. 21, yeah, not too common. Yeah, the Caterham is a fun car. What's funny is the indicator, or the blinker, whatever you call it. So you know how on a regular car it's basically one of the sticks either side of the steering wheel. On his car it's literally a switch that you flick left to right. Which is fun. Okay, we found some open ports on the machine. What we can start doing, since we only found 3, we can try visiting port 80, which is obviously probably going to be HTTP. So we'll open it over here. Okay. We'll view the page source, just in case. Also, it's sometimes slightly easier to view the page source because you don't have to deal with these images. But it looks like there's nothing much in the page source. There we go. Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. Anonymous FTP login allowed. That's something we want to see. So we should be able to log into this FTP server. It's going to ask me for the name. I'm going to put anonymous. This is what anonymous FTP allows. Sometimes it'll prompt for a password. Sometimes it won't. In this case, it didn't. It just let us in if we typed anonymous. If it does ask for a password, you can either press enter, so blank password, or sometimes they set the password to anonymous. Okay, so we have a few things in the directory. We have logs.txt and task.txt. Looks like there's content in both of them, sorry. And it looks like we can read, because everyone can read, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out. Let's create the directory for this one. What was it called? Bounty Hacker. Okay. Alright, so the reason I did that is so I can just download these now into this directory. So if we can do ls, so what we can do is we could just do, get and then logs.txt, or we could do mget and then just do an asterisk, which basically means get everything. And it's going to ask, yes, we want to get that. Yes, we want to get that. There is a way to disable it asking you this question. I didn't do it because there's only 2 files, but there is a way. I honestly forget how. It's pretty simple though. Alright, so now we have these files. So let's I think one of the first questions was who wrote the task list. So let's look in the task. Task.txt. Lynn. Protect Vicious, plan for Red Eye, pick up on the moon. I take it these are references to whatever this show was. right? Probably. Who wrote the task list? Lynn. What service can you brute force with a text file found? Okay, so is it going to be locks? Alright, so these are probably references to Cowboy Bebop. Okay. I have not heard of that. What do these look like? Anyone? Passwords. Ghost of Spooky. Got it. Main reason they look like passwords is they all effectively have the same kind of base word. So Red Dragon or Red Dragon Syndicate, and they're all just spelt differently, using different either leet speak or putting a date on the end, I guess. So the passwords. So what service? Let's go back to the services we found. We found only 3. So FTP, SSH, and HTTP. So I'm guessing SSH is the service. It makes sense. Yeah, okay. The question is, what's the user? So we have a few people we could use. We'll have usernames here, right? Spike, Jet, Ed, Faye, and Lynn. So what we'll do is we'll put that in a users.txt. Spike, what did I say? Jet, Ed, and Faye. Jet, Ed, and Faye, and then Lynn. And then, you know, just for sake of argument, we'll put root in as well. Okay. To brute force FTP, we're going to use Hydra. Does uppercase, lowercase matter? I don't think so on Linux. Don't quote me on that. Let's Google it actually. Linux are usernames case sensitive. Depends on the standard used, right? Yeah, so maybe. Most of the time, I would say usernames on Linux are lowercase. Alright, so the good thing about Hydra is the syntax is awful, but it does at least give examples. So it looks like we can just use this. So if you do a lowercase L, you're specifying a single user. If you do an uppercase L, you're specifying a file. And that's why uppercase P is used for the password list. So locks was the password list. FTP. Let's copy the IP address again. Let's try that. It shouldn't take too long. There's only 156 login tries. Okay, didn't find a valid password. Why didn't I find a valid password? Because, yeah, I'm an idiot and we're trying to get into SSH. I'm glad someone's paying attention. Alright, so luckily we just have to change FTP to SSH. But I guess if you did want to log into the FTP server, you could use that. Honestly, I love chat helping out. There we go. Yeah, I think it's much more fun when you have chat, because they absolutely love when you completely fail, but then they're usually very helpful as well. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and we're going to paste it here. Alright, so we'll just use this password. Good Good, it worked. Okay. Now we can actually do it. Log in. Lin at 10.10.179.126. We want a yes. We're going to continue. And then I'm going to paste the password. And we're in. So,
we're in.
We're in. Okay. We're on their desktop as well. There's user.txt. Let's count that. Copy that. Okay. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow along with. We're pretty much finding a list of passwords in the FTP server, finding the username, well, finding a bunch of usernames, and then brute forcing. So now we have a user, we need to actually privilege escalate. So can anyone think of what's some good things to do before we run a privesc tool like linps or LSE? Does anyone know? sudo-l, correct. Okay, it's asking for a password for Lin, which we obviously know. So I'm just going to copy this. So sudo-l lists if you're able to run sudo on anything, sudo-l will list what you're able to run. And it says user Lin may run the following commands on Bounty Hacker. You may run bin/tar. Okay, so we can run it as root. That's important. Sometimes, and people, especially beginners, will not realize this, but sudo isn't always root. If you can run something with sudo, you can list the username you run it. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. If it says root there, or if it says all, you can run it as any user. But this we can only run as root. Okay. So what do we do now? We can run tar. What's the next step for us? There we go. Chat's on fire tonight. GTFO bins. Get the F out bins. I'll leave a link in chat. This is an insanely good site. So effectively, the GTFO refers to effectively breaking out of a program. So using that program to do something you're not really supposed to be able to do, especially if it's running as a higher privileged user. So what you can do, it's got 287 binaries, so we can just search tar in this case. So you want to actually just search for the regular, this part. You don't want to do /bin/tar. Tar's the name. We can do all this stuff. We can spawn shells, we can do file uploads, file downloads, write files, read files, sudo, and limited SUID. Okay, so let's click it. And we can run it as sudo, so let's go down here. So if the binary is allowed to run as super user, it does not drop the elevated privileges and may be used to access the file system, escalate, or maintain privileged access. So we can basically copy this, and I will copy it to this and explain what it's doing. Okay. So for those who don't know, tar is effectively a Linux tool for creating archives. So you can think of it a little like zip. Tar doesn't by default do compression, so it'll just create an archive with the files in it, no compression at all. You can add compression to it using tar, but the point of tar is just to basically take several files and turn them into one file that you can then send around easily. So the -cf is basically the -c is for compress. The F stands, I think, for the file. All I know is you need the F in there. And then these two effectively were saying, okay, take everything in dev null and compress it and write it to dev null. Dev null is just a special part of the file system that effectively is a pointer to nothing. So when we reference dev null, when we read from dev null, we're getting nothing. When we're writing for dev null, it's going nowhere. So this is effectively creating a archive from nothing and writing it to nowhere. So that's just useful. What makes tar special for privilege escalation is checkpoints. Now a checkpoint, you can set a checkpoint every X file, where X is a number. So in this case, we set the checkpoint number to 1, which means every 1th file, so every one file we process, right, it's going to execute the checkpoint action. Okay? Or rather, it's going to perform a checkpoint action, which we've set to an execute action, which is set to running bin/sh, which is a shell. So effectively, when we run this command, it's going to start creating an archive with this one file that we have. Because we set a checkpoint of one file, it's then going to run this. And it's going to run it as root because we're running it through sudo. And sudo obviously defaults to the root user. So if we run this, there we go. If we run ID, we are root. Now, I'm not sure if I change this checkpoint to 2, it might work or it might not. Right, it didn't. So the reason it didn't work there is obviously if you have one or more files, so if you have 2 or more files, the checkpoint will run. But since we only have one file, the checkpoint will only run after 2 files have been processed, so it's not going to run at all. So that's why you want checkpoint 1 there. Oops. So let's run that again. And then we can cd into /root, which is obviously the root's home directory. No, so it doesn't care that this isn't a file. It's still thinking it's one file. So even though there's nothing there, it's still going to process it when you set checkpoint to 1. It's only because if you set checkpoint for 2, the checkpoint action only runs every 2 files. And since we're only dealing with one file, it won't run. Did we cd into root? We did. All right. Okay. So we got the other thing. We completed the room. So what I'll actually show you then, if I can remember the tar syntax. I think you do. Let's just try it. All right, I'm going to clear. I think the first one isn't the file. The first one is the actual thing. So if we do dev null again. Right, there. Oh, hang on. Change the checkpoint to 2. That didn't work either. Can we add another one maybe? Or maybe because it's the same thing. Right, okay, so if I actually... let's create a file in temp called null. And then do temp null. Apologize, it's been quite slow. This is where I'm not sure if the syntax is correct or not. Maybe one of these had to be temp null. No. That's interesting. So maybe the checkpoint is... As far as I'm aware, the checkpoint is... Come on, what's the checkpoint? Yeah, see, display progress messages every numberth record. So I'm not entirely sure why that checkpoint 2 isn't working when we've got 2. I kind of want to sort this out. Let's actually remove null. Touch 1 and 2. So we'll create files called 1 and 2. All right. Sudo tar -cf archive.tar 1 2. Let me just run that. Okay, that works. So let's try. Well, I can't remove that then. Okay, so hang on. So run, and we'll copy this. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure then. If I run it again, what if I do 3 files? No. I'm honestly not entirely sure why that doesn't work. I always understood it that it would run every second file, which if we give it 3 files, it should run after it's processed the second one. But I guess there's something weird with my understanding of how that works. Either way, you can just set it to 1, and it will run after the first file. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So we've done that one. We definitely have time for another one. The original use of it was literally, so as it was saying, I closed the man page, is to print a progress message. So say you're tarring up several thousand files, and every 100th file, you want it to print out something like done. So you know it's still working, right? So you know it's still actually doing something. That was all it was used for. Now, why you have this exec thing is a completely other story. Why you want to execute something instead of just printing it? No idea. But I guess it makes sense if you want to continually maybe run a specific script that does something every nth file. Still, it is rather pointless. I'm not entirely sure many people actually use it. All right, does anyone remember what the second one in the poll was? I think it was it Startup or Skynet? Startup, alright. Alright, let's close all this. Join the room. Abuse traditional vulnerabilities via untraditional methods. Okay, interesting. So depending on how this goes, we might run auto recon against this. Let's create a new directory for it. Start up. Yeah, ebook, you might be right. So I might have to do something with the older hardware, because tar is ancient. I'm not entirely sure when tar was first created. I'm sure we can actually Google it. Oh, wow. 1979. Yeah. So tar is ancient. Thank you, Real Duke. Appreciate it. Let's run all the recon. Well, yeah, we're output to Cherry Tree. Why not? Okay, copy the IP address. We'll just ping it in a new session. Pardon me. Okay, exit that. Cool. Alright, this isn't going to run UDP because I'm running it as not root, but should still be okay. Interestingly, exactly the same number of ports as the last box so far, 21, 18, 22. Let's check out port 80. No spice here. Please excuse us as we develop our site. We want to make it the most stylish, convenient way to buy peppers. Plus, we need a web developer. By the way, if you're a web developer, contact us. That's just a mail link. Alright, let's view the page source. Yeah, wrap long lines. When are we going to update this? Okay. So, auto recon. So far, only found those 3 ports. It started doing FTP. M mapping FTP, M mapping SSH. Started doing some directory busting. Let's take a look. TryHackMe. Startup results. Thank you, Zero Kieran. I mean, I'm biased because I wrote it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Alright, so we got a Ferox Buster going. It's found nothing. These are all 403s, so basically forbiddens. Let's look up TCP21. Oh look, our friend Anonymous FTP. So, let's create a new window. Copy the IP address again. FTP. Anonymous. And see, this time, see how last time it didn't ask for a password. This time I'm just going to press enter. Logging successful. Let's try it again and type anonymous, because it might just accept any password. No, okay. That's fine. It's a blank password then. New window, new new tmux window. Okay. What room are we doing? We are doing startup on TryHackMe. Okay, so I just remembered we didn't cd into the directory. I believe you can do... Yes. So currently we're in... we do a local... No. We are in my home directory. So if I do lcd or local change directory, we can change directory into tryhackme/startup. And then this is a directory, this FTP directory. So what we'll do is we'll mget, we'll just get important.jpg. and we'll get notice.txt, and then we'll cd into FTP and see what's there. Nothing. But it looks like we can write to it. Did I see. Thank you. Chat to the rescue again. I'm just going to copy it. See? Another reason why chat's good. They spot the typos. Okay. Oh, good. An Among Us reference. Everyone asks, who's the imposter? But no one asks, how's the imposter? True. Alright, whoever is leaving these down Among Us memes in this share, it is not funny. People downloading documents from our website will think we are a joke. Now, I don't know who it is, but Maya is looking pretty sus. Okay. Is there a question about this one? No. So it's suggesting maybe are these... Is important.jpg accessible over the website? No. Worth a shot. One thing we could try is robots.txt, obviously. Which isn't found, so no. Oh, hang on, I pressed the wrong thing. Okay, did we find anything? Ah! We found a files. Looks like a directory. There they are. Okay. So, someone was uploading to this directory, presumably, or even the FTP directory. Let's do ls-a and see if we have permissions. We don't have write permissions here in this directory. See, we have read and execute. There's also a .test log which I did not see before, so let's get that. That was hidden. So, where was it? Test. Nice. So, we should be able to go into the FTP directory, though, and upload files. So, let's... start up. Let's create a file called Tiberius.txt, and we'll put Tiberius in it. We'll save it. And then there should be a put command. Yeah, there we go. So we're in FTP. We can write. We know we can write to this. Since I'm in this directory, I can just put directly Tiberius. Transfer complete. Now if we do an ls, there's a Tiberius.txt. If I go into the FTP directory here, there's a Tiberius.txt. And we can view it by the web. Why is this interesting? Why is this important? Ebooks on it. So this is an Apache web server. Which doesn't necessarily mean it's got PHP installed. One thing we could check is we could check whether this was an index.php file. So all I did was I visited like the root directory here, and we got this page. Now this is still a file on the system. It's usually called index.something. It could be index.html, it could be index.htm, could be .php. The Apache server is configured to look for those files whenever a directory is requested and display that if no specific file was requested. So let's try index.php. Not found. Is it .html? Yeah. So we don't know whether PHP is even enabled on here. Because this is obviously just an HTML file. However, it's probably likely. We can put more memes. True. So what we'll do, we'll create a, not php.php. We'll do test.php. How about that? And we'll write some quick PHP code. So the easiest thing to, if you want to see if PHP is working, is you just run the command php info. And that's just going to create pretty much a massive dump of PHP data. So let's put test.php. And we sent it. And now if we go to FTP, oops, no, it's files, sorry. Files/FTP, test.php, hooray. So, what we uploaded was that, just those 5 lines. And what we got back was this. And if you look at the source code, yes, it's not just 5 lines. It's a lot of stuff. Which means, number 1, PHP is enabled, because this wouldn't work. Number 2, we can just generate a PHP reverse shell. Okay. So there are some good ones. I think Hacktrix has, where's PHP? There it is. Yeah, so let's try the Hacktrix one. Not the Hacktrix. This is Hackbar, I think. Hack Tools. So what I want to do is I want to get my IP address for the tunnel, which is 2135, which I think is already in there. Yeah. Okay. And we're going to copy the source code for Pentest Monkey's reverse shell. Pentest Monkey is a really good PHP shell. It's really old, but it's reliable. And the reason it's reliable is it uses a bunch of different methods to try and get a shell. So let's just paste it and see. And don't worry if you cannot read any of this. All you need to really know is that it tries a bunch of different methods to try and get something. So everything looks good. Sets the port to 4444. That's fine. So what we'll do is we'll save this into, where's TryHackMe, startup, and we'll save it as shell.php. Save. Okay. And now we can just do put shell.php. Cool. Now we're going to set up our netcat reverse listener. So I usually use -nvlp. The N doesn't do DNS. I think does the N just not do DNS resolution? The V is for both. The L is for listen. The P is for port. Cool. So now we can just go to shell.php and see if we get anything. And you'll see, if you can possibly see on your screens, the web page is constantly loading. That's a good sign. That means, yeah, it's constantly loading because the PHP is still technically running because it's holding this shell open. So we have a shell. We are in. Oh, why did my GIF not work? There we go.
We are in.
We're in. Okay, there's recipe.txt. Someone asked what our main ingredient to our spice soup is today. I figured I can't keep it secret forever and told it was love. Alright, so love is the answer to this first question. Does that mean if we close the browser PHP window, the shell will disconnect? Good question. I don't think so, because it spawned its own process. And technically speaking, it's... Yeah. I mean, let's try it. Screw it. No, it's fine. I think because it technically spawns its own process, which isn't killed when the parent process is killed. So it should be alright. Now the problem is we are the www data user, and I presume we want to get to the Lenny user. So this is going to have two different privilege escalations. So let's just start by running sudo-l again. No TTY present, no ASPAS. Alright, so we need to get a TTY shell, which we can do. Copy that. Okay. Can we do sudo-l now? No. Alright. We can't do sudo-l because we don't know what www data's password is. Probably even doesn't have a password. Because you're not really supposed to log in as www data. So what we can do, we can look around. Let's go to what I presume is the home directory. No. That's interesting. Okay. So we don't have missions over this directory? We do not. Okay. That's interesting. There's an incidents directory that's owned by us, though. Suspicious PCAP-NG. Ooh. That's cool. Would it be in var www.html? Might be, but since we can only... Oh, yeah, it would be. Alright. Awesome. You are correct. Just throwing me off a bit because we couldn't CD directly into www. Okay, so we got the suspicious.pcap-ng, which is presumably PCAP next generation. Either way, we can probably open it in Wireshark. So let's copy that from /incidents. I'm not even going to attempt to spell that. And we'll copy it to var www HTML, which I presume we can write to. No. Okay. Alright, so we're going to have to get it off another way. If we could move it to the web server, we could literally just download it through web browsing. It doesn't look like we can do that. I wonder if we can... It doesn't look like we can write to the files directory either, to be honest. Yeah, the problem is the files directory is the FTP directory. But we can... Right, we can write it there, that's right. So let's copy this again. Copy. Good, we can do it. What is the goal of this exercise? It's to effectively, we're the www data user. We have a shell as this user. We're trying to get to, I believe it was Lenny. Yeah, so we're trying to privilege escalate. Now, I don't know what is in suspicious.pcap-ng, but we'll find out. So right click, save link as. Let's put it in TryHackMe startup, and then we'll open Wireshark. Okay, file open. Where's TryHackMe? Okay. So that's weird. So there's a GET request to the exact file that we had. Only it didn't work. Okay. Well, we don't need that. So basically, looks like they tried to do an HTTP request. And apologies, this is not really beginner. I guess maybe. This Wireshark just basically displays packets. So the PCAP file, PCAPNG file, was effectively a record of the packets that was sent to and from the machine over a specific specific time period. And this is just displaying them. So you could ignore these TCP stuff. The juicy stuff, there's a GET request to favicon.ico, which is a 404. Then it did a GET request to, where are we? Files FTP shell.php, which was a 200. We go down here. And then, it looks like obviously shell.php was a reverse shell, so it looks like what happened was all this information is the communication between the web server and the shell. So let's follow this. Okay, here we go. Can everyone see this all right? So you see how there's all this communication between this random port on the machine and port 4444. That was the port that they used to connect. Ironically, this is basically what we did. So they did an LS. They did an ls-la. They did a who am I. They did they used Python to grab a TTY. They tried to CD into Lenny. They did here we go. There's a password. They tried to use this password for dub data, but it didn't work. So presumably maybe that's the password we can use. Let's keep going. Is this the same one? I'm trying to tell if that's. I think that's the same password. They cat Etsy password. Then they exited. Okay. I wonder if this is Lenny's password then. Should we try an SSH as Lenny? Let's create a new Lenny at 10.10.0220. It was Lenny's password. All right. Where's the? There we go.
Bien.
You saw Lenny in the Etsy password file at the end. Yeah, so obviously the Etsy password is just a list of users. So Lenny's going to be in there. Or you could use SU as Lenny from your existing cell. I could. The only problem is this is a terrible shell. This uses netcat. Even though I've given it a TTY, it's still awful. I much prefer this lovely SSH shell. Because if I control C in this shell, I'm not going to lose my shell. If I control C in this one, because I haven't set it up properly, which takes time, it's just going to terminate my session. We'll keep it open for now. But yeah, pretty much I much prefer to get a stable shell using SSH if I possibly can. Okay, so Now we can just cat the user.txt, copy that, lovely. Okay, well, now we need to privilege escalate to root, so let's try sudo-l again. We have Lenny's password, so we can just try and reuse that. Sorry, user Lenny may not run sudo on startup. Not good. Alright. There are some scripts though, and the scripts look like they're in a root-owned directory. And they are root-owned. So let's cat that startup list, I guess, which is only 1 byte, which is just a new line. Okay. Cat planner dot sh, which is echo list. Okay. So none of these are writable. So it's echoing a list variable into the startup list, and then it's running /print.sh, which is just done. But what's the permissions on this? Ah! This is owned by Lenny. It's writable. Which it doesn't matter because we own it, so we could change the permissions on it. This, presumably, this startup.list, sorry, startup.list.txt is getting updated every minute, I would guess. So it was 23:56 the last time it was updated. 23:57. Lovely. What are we dealing with here, chat? Cron job. Just a guy got it. Cron job, cron tab. Cron tab's the program you use to edit cron jobs. Or it's really the list of cron jobs, I guess. But yeah, cron jobs, cron tab, same thing. So, because we know this is running as root. Why do we know this is running as root? I mean, why do we know plan.sh is running as root? It doesn't say. That's the user, and that's the group. Anyone can execute this file. So how do we know this is actually being run by root? Ragnarok's pretty much got it. Startup_list is only writable by its owner, which is root. Right? And it's getting updated. It's actually getting written to. This should only change when it actually gets updated. So we know that whoever is updating this file, well, we know that only the root user can update this file effectively, which means this script is running as root. Okay? Because this script is running as root, and this script calls this script here, so plan.sh runs /print.sh, and we can edit print.sh. This is a long chain. We can technically put any code we want in print.sh and have it run every minute as root. So, what code shall we put in here to make it run as root? Any ideas? We want to get to a root user, pretty much. Does anyone have any ideas, possibly, what I could put in here? Password from std into root. The problem is root isn't going to type anything. It's just going to run the file. It's an automated process, so it's not going to send it. T-Manster 101 knows me well. We're going to do root bash. Ragnarok, we're not going to call it Yeet. We call it root bash because that's the name that I gave it in my Linux privilege escalation course. And I just think it's funny to to call it root bash. Okay, so we're going to execute 2 commands. We're going to copy the bin bash binary, which is just a shell. We're going to copy it to temp, and we're going to call it root bash. Okay? You don't really need a semicolon, but whatever. That's going to be done as root, so temp root bash should be owned as root. It's owned as root anyway, but whatever. We're then going to chmod it. Alright, so we're going to set its permissions. We're going to give it execute, and we're going to set its UID. Okay? It's probably already executable because it's bash, but just in case, I always put +XS, just in case for some bizarre reason it loses the execute permission during this copy. I'm not entirely sure if that's even possible, but I like to play it safe. It won't do anything bad if you just put a +X there. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do it to the copy of the file. All right, so we're not changing any file system stuff. We're not really messing with bin bash. What this will do, we'll create a root-owned version of bash with the SUID bit set, which means we can execute bash as root. And it will, if we give it the -p, it'll preserve the root privileges. So let's save that and see what the time is. All right, so we have about 40 seconds to wait. Add Lenny and Sudoers. Yeah, could do that as well. Honestly, there's a bunch of things you can do. So you could even put a reverse shell code in there. There's a bunch of bash reverse shells. If I go to this, and then we go to PHP, like bash reverse shells, you could put this in here. You know, that's a good bash reverse shell. There's another one that uses netcat. So there's a bunch of good ones. However, the reason I use root bash is because it's persistent. It creates a file, it then changes the permissions on that file, and then even if the file gets overwritten by the same cron job a minute later, it's still gonna have the permissions because the permissions get updated. So the problem with using a reverse shell, for instance, is if you accidentally Control-C it, you have to wait, you know, possibly 59 seconds for it to, you know, come back. Whereas if you have root bash shell, you can just rerun it. So let's ls-l/temp. There it is. You see how it got created at what is the time on this server actually? Yeah, so it got created just now. What would the stealthiest way to be? I mean, you're already editing a script on the server, so it's not really that stealthy anyway. You're creating it in /temp, so that's the temporary directory. You can easily remove it. I guess, technically speaking, a reverse shell would probably be better, more stealthy, because it only exists, I guess, as a single line in that file and in memory when it's being run. So certainly that's probably the stealthiest, but when you got to the point where you have to edit a system file anyway, you can probably just create it, root bash. Alright, so we're going to cd into /temp. I'll do an ls again. So we can see it's owned by root, and it has this SUID bit set. It also has the SGID, and that's because we just did a +S up here. Where is it? Oh, I closed it. +S will basically set both. It'll set the SUID and the SGID. We don't care about the SGID. All it means is the root, the group that we'll be running it as is root as well. All right, so now we can just run root bash. So root bash. But we need, if I just ran this, it's just going to give me a shell. Actually, let me do it. If I do ID, it gives me a shell back as Lenny. Right? Even though it's running as SUID, and that's because bash is sensible, and bash thinks to itself, okay, I'm running as SUID, that's probably a bit silly, so it downgrades your permissions by default. which is a sensible behavior, but we want to override that. So what we want to do is do temp root bash -p, and that will preserve those permissions. And you can even see the $signs change to a hash. The hash is a pretty good sign that we're going to be root. If I type ID, you may get confused because the UID is still set to Lenny, but our effective UID is set to root, and our effective group ID is set to root. So we are actually running as root, and if I typed who am I, then we see we are in fact root. Alright, so we can see into the root directory and count root.txt. And okay. Are there any questions about that? No, there's credits. There we go. Do they have to find stuff like this in pen tests? They seem really contrived, like open anonymous FTP uploads. How does that even happen? You'll find it more on internal stuff. You'll find it, out in the open on the internet. But there's a purpose to anonymous FTP. So that effectively, you'd rarely find it in this situation where you'd be able to upload files that are also on a web server. But anonymous FTP can be useful if you just want a nice dumping ground for I say public files, but I guess non-confidential corporate data, right? So if you're a corporation and you have an internal report that doesn't contain anything really sensitive, but you want everyone to read it, then anonymous FTP is fine. Obviously these days in Windows networks, you're just going to have an SMB share where you authenticate to it, because that's easy to set up. But say you don't have a Windows environment, say you're all Linux based, then anonymous FTP is fine. The method of getting to this though is a bit much. And obviously finding this kind of thing, you're probably not going to find. You're not going to find it typing the password in a TCP stream. The cron job is probably the most realistic stuff. There are definitely vulnerable cron jobs out there where it might not necessarily be as easy as this, but it definitely can be. Okay. We can shut down that machine then. I guess we can probably do one more. Alright, T-Master, take care. So, do we want to do Skynet or simple CTF, I guess? Should I do a poll? Simple CTF, there we go. Alright, there's a poll going. Vote for which one you want to see. Just a guy, 2 a.m. man. Thank you for watching the stream at midnight and staying for 2 hours. That's crazy. Really appreciate it. See you, Ragnarok. All right. We've got about a minute left to vote. Let me close these down. Yeah, it must suck when there's there must not be that many European streamers, I guess. I guess most of them maybe are American. Alright, night LC Ted. Alright, simple CTF is winning by 3 votes. Unless something drastic happens. Let's have a look. I'm going to start it anyway. Deploy the machine and attempt the questions. So this looks like it's going to be a kind of a walkthrough, I guess, but that's fine. Alright. We have spawned simple CTF. Take about a minute to boot up. I can probably stop running that. Obviously that. Let's close that window. Close that window. Create a new directory. Okay. Alright, we have an IP address. Let's ping it. Yeah. It'd help if I actually copied it. Okay. So we'll just start with a regular map, I guess. Alright, so we have port 80, probably HTTP, and 21, which is probably FTP. So we'll go to the website first. It's the Apache Ubuntu default page. Is there a robots.txt? We'll find that first. Oops, robots.txt. There is. Okay. So that's interesting. Let me zoom in. So a robots.txt file is usually reserved for search engines. So it's effectively search engines will tell you, well, when they're indexing a site, they'll visit the robots.txt first and see what they're allowed to do. In this case, they're basically not allowed to do anything. But they're explicitly not allowed to go to this directory, which is odd. So what we'll do is we'll visit this directory and see what's there. Alright, it looked like there were only 3 ports. But how many services are running under port 1000? There's only 2. What is running on the higher port? Well, if it means port 80, that's HTTP. There's only 3 letters. So I'm guessing it's not that. We'll have to wait for our Nmap scan to finish. It doesn't look like this is loading. Let me try curl. Okay. I think I took down the box. I'm not sure what that was. Let's try that again. Let's try that Nmap scan again. Like maybe there was a weird glitch in the VPN, yeah, there we go. Alright. So we'll see what happens now. So let me try this again. That was not found. Interesting. Alright, it's actually running some scripts now. So hopefully after these scripts are finished, we'll know what's running on the higher port, which I presume is the 2222. Should be interesting. I guess we can Google port 2222. I'm not entirely sure it's a common port. Okay. Rockwell CSP2. Oh, here we go. Okay, SSH is running on 2222. I guess that makes kind of sense. Obviously, SSH runs on port 22 by default, so trying to hide it on 2222 makes some kind of sense. All right, SSH. What's the CV using against the application? Well, anonymous FTP is allowed again, so let's just try the FTP server. Maybe that'll give us some clues about the application. I don't think 303 is vulnerable either. Login successful. We'll do an ls. Actually, we'll do an ls-l. Sorry, -la to get the hidden files. So there's just a directory called pub, probably means public. So we'll cd into that. Alright, and there's a for Mitch. So what's my working directory? Well, I'm gonna cd into home Tiberius. TryHackMe, simple CTF. Okay. Now we can get for Mitch.txt. Alright, we next out that. There was nothing else on that server. Now we have this for Mitch. Damn it, man, you're the worst dev I've seen. You set the same pass for the system user, and the password is so weak I cracked it in seconds. Gosh, what a mess. Okay. That doesn't give us any clues, but presumably we can get to the system user. I'm just wondering why this doesn't work. Maybe it's just this one. No. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll use GoBuster. We'll just adjust this. Okay. So we're going to run GoBuster. We're looking for files, file names in this big.txt file, which is a pretty good one. It's from seclists. It's got quite a number of file names in it. We're also going to search for extensions, so we're going to try every single file name with .txt, .html, .php. And we're doing that because this is obviously an Apache server, and so we could potentially find some stuff. Obviously we haven't right now. These are all 403s, so that's fine. That dude Henry asks, should I grab the new CISSP all-in-one exam guide 9th edition or stick to the used 8th editions? I have no idea about CISSP, unfortunately. From what I understand, it's more of a blue team thing. I've never had to get it. I know some people who have got it. Alright, so is there anything else we can try? I mean, we can't really answer this question, CVE. We haven't really found the application. I guess we could try using search exploit. Yeah, it's just a denial of service for 3.0.3, which is not what we want. It's the SSH server. Let me just search for that on Google and see what we find. So let's just username enumeration on this one, I think. And I'm guessing, I'm guessing this isn't going to be it, but we'll try it. Yeah. Alright. We need to find an application. Which is weird because the robots.txt lists it. I'm guessing I can just Google this. What version was it? 5013. There we go. It's probably this one. Or this authentication bypass, maybe. It'd really help if we found the actual file. This is a confusing one. I definitely tried just that, right? Yeah. Chat, got any suggestions? Ah, /simple. That might be it. A different word list, yeah. If we'd run out, then sure. But simple looks good. There we go. Okay, what CMS is this? You now have a fully functional install of CMS Made Simple. If this is your site, click the admin panel to log in. Okay. Alright. Let's Google simple CMS. Oh, sorry, CMS Made Simple. So a CMS is just a content management system. You kind of think of it a bit like WordPress, except WordPress is mostly blogs. But in WordPress you can create pages as well, which is kind of content management. So, CMS Made Simple exploit. All right, do we know the version? Version 2. So you probably can't see that, but the version number here is 2.2.8, and it looks like there's an SQL injection for all versions lower than 2.2.10. So I'm guessing this is the CVE that we want to use. Good. Okay, and that would be SQL injection. Okay. So all right. Let's download this. This looks like it can help us crack the password as well. So we'll save that. Go back here. We'll move it from downloads. What's the number? 466. Alright. That was fine. Python 3, 466. Okay, it's just Python. Pip install term color. Pip 2 installed. Didn't work. No. Python 2-m pip install term color. Can I just sudo it? Sudo pip 2. Interesting. Why isn't this working? Alright, can I do virtual env? Okay, I can. I forget how. -pi, right. Okay. Python 2. Test. Source test. So all I'm doing here is I'm creating a virtual environment for Python. You really don't need to know why. It's just it makes things so much easier. Okay, Python 2. Go to install requests. There we go. Once again, proving that most of hacking is knowing how to Google. Pretty much. Okay, example usage with cracking password. I wonder if we just need the simple. So we want to crack and we want to use probably use a share word lists Rocky. No, passwords Rocky. All right, so it looks like it's just Right, so it's brute forcing what I presume is the hashed password here. Let's see if we can see that. Right. Okay, so. Okay, it's from the salt, right. So what this is doing is it's the passwords luckily aren't stored in plain text in the database. That's a good thing. So what it's doing is it's using SQL injection to extract the hash, the password hash, and then it's going to presumably try and crack it. It looks like this is actually extracting the username right now. This is going to be Mitchell, right? Oh, just Mitch. Can we answer any more questions? What's the password? Well, it's 6 characters. Where can you log in? I'm guessing SSH. So yeah, this is going to take a while. This is quite a cool script though. Okay, found the email, which we don't really care about. Hopefully this is the password. The password hash. I'm not entirely sure I can explain this in beginner terms. We did SQL injection last week though. But effectively what it's doing is exploiting an SQL injection, which is blind, so it's not getting any data out like printed back to the page. But you can extract, or you can use the SQL injection to ask the server yes or no questions. Which is effectively what it's doing here. Oh, jeez. Hopefully this is gonna... Alright, I see. So it's actually got the hash, I guess? And it looks like it's found... Is it still... I don't know what's happening here. I mean, it looks like it's brute forcing it by the tries. Yeah, because the password found isn't getting any longer. Honestly, it was a 6-character password. We probably could have just used SSH with Hydra. Does anyone want to look up the walkthrough and tell me what the password is? Because we're clearly going to find it using this. Right, this is basically brute forcing the password using a dictionary. It's just clearly doing it very weirdly. I think because time is not on our side, I'm going to go to a write-up and I'm going to scroll down just until we find the password. Where? Don't know what happened there. Alright. Because, I mean, it's quite clear we're going to find it at some point. I just don't want to take forever. Okay. Scrolling down very slowly. Password is secret. Okay. Yeah. I don't like it either. Alright, so we'll SSH as Mitch. Oh. The port we probably need. Secret. Alright, cool. We can stop that now. We were going to find it eventually, but I don't know how far down secret is in the Rocky list. Alright, so we can answer the question secret. What's the user flag? Alright. Cat user.txt is good job, keep it up. Is there another user in the home directory? What's his name? So we'll just do ls/home. Sunbath. Do we need to get to Sunbath or do we need to get somewhere else? We can try using sudo -l. Okay. There we go. This is going to be very easy now. So we did sudo -l, which we can run without a password, even though we know Mitch's password. Which tells us that we can run vim as root without entering our password. Hooray! So we can use vim. Go to GTFO bins again. This is going to be a very easy one. We can use vim via sudo. And so if we run vim like this, so there's a few ones, but this is the easiest up top. So it's just going to spawn. Effectively, you can issue commands via vim. This is just basically saying after vim launches, type : bin sh, which is just going to run bin sh because we're running it as a root. We get a root shell. Well done, you made it. Were there any questions about that one? Hopefully not. That was actually pretty simple. obviously the main two things which were time consuming were actually finding the folder, the directory on the web server, and then this weird freaking password thing, which actually let's exit and let's see how far down secret is on the list. That's weird. It should have found it. I'm kind of glad we did look it up then. That script did not work. Oops. Alright, people. Thank you so much for coming along. I'm gonna end the stream. We're gonna switch to someone. We're gonna find somebody streaming right now and raid them. But thank you so much for joining me for Cyber Mentoring Monday. It looks like JBeers is streaming, so we'll raid JBeers. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is on the screen. I got a Discord server which I frequent. A YouTube channel which you can subscribe to some content. Obviously, if you are watching on Twitch right now, please give me a follow. All right, and next week we'll resume 5:30 Eastern. Hopefully, Hack the Box will behave a little better, and we'll do the giveaway. But for now, let's raid JBeers. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the evening and a great week, and I'll see you next time.